Welcome back to another video. This is Marcus, and I'm going to be showing you some skills and techniques, at least, skills and techniques used for essays and research and introductions. Well, research introduction paragraphs for grade 8. We're going to look at hooks and funnels on how they look like for the 8th grade. Now, keep in mind that if you haven't seen my the the background for how we create each I would say how we approach the introductions, make sure that you take a look at my grade 7 video, the G7, the first one before this. The preceding video covers a more in-depth look on why the introduction is the way it is. But of course, if you have graduated from the 7th grade, you probably are already well practiced and you don't need to go back to see that video. We're just going to look at the topic for what grade 8 is doing in um, their Savas My Perspectives book. So again, the prompt is a little different on this one. The prompt asks, what human discovery changed the world? And that's the basic question, right? So the general idea is about human discovery, and the topic focus is about the discovery of weapons. Again, you'll need to understand the parts of your focus. Remember that the general idea is the overall goal of the paper. It's oftentimes separated from the topic. The ideas, though, are connected to the topic focus. And of course, the goal of writing is about discovery of weapons. So the broad topic of discovery means that you're going to be looking at history and the development of that discovery. How did it change the world? Or you can focus on how the weapon changed the world in time. So you can look at like something like a timeline, or you can just focus on that particular moment and how the world changed from there. And of course, getting into the topic focus, the discovery of weapons, this is what each sentence will talk about. If the sentence in a separate, if you were to isolate each sentence actually in a separate way, if they do not cover the discovery of weapons and they don't focus on that human intellectual, development or progression, then it's probably not going to work out for you on that paper. You'll have to modify your sentences. Some ways for you to tackle the introduction, though, because introductions are a little bit difficult, and you'll need to develop your thesis. Remember, your thesis is like the answer. The discovery of weapons changed the way humans survive, control territories, and engage in war. Now, when you're looking at the discovery of weapons, one thing that you want to focus on is throughout your brainstorming and whether you're working in your introductions, think about who founded the weapon, where did the weapon come from, think about who were the first, what were the first weapons, and also what did the first weapons look like. Also think about when were the first weapons discovered, based on carbon dating. Where were weapons first discovered? Like where, like the place of the oldest recorded weapon. Why were weapons being used? So this may cover the objective of your thesis and how were the weapons used. Now, why were the weapons used? To survive, control territories, engage in war. But how were used usually indicates a process for details that will go inside of your body sentences. Now, of course, I say this because your introduction is something like the essence of all of your entire paper. They usually come with a background, but most times when we talk about history based topics, then you kind of look at the modern understanding, the modern context of weapons, and then you kind of go backwards in time, right? A lot of the maybe not historical context, but I would say maybe the the anecdotes, the visual pictures. Now, those will make for really good hooks here. So, if you understand the process of making a hook, and then you have the process of funneling, now we can go ahead and take a look at this example here. So, if we take a look, we have the human discoveries that shaped the world in powerful ways. I will go ahead and mark here where it says human discoveries have shaped the world in powerful ways is just a general statement, okay, indicating more general statements. One discovery that changed history was the invention of weapons. We're not talking about who exactly founded the weapons because we really want to save that for the body. But these sentences touch up on one, the topic sentence, the topic focus sentence. Okay, so it's not telling you who found it or anything. It's just giving you an insight on the human discovery, many human discoveries. It says human discoveries shape the world in powerful ways. They didn't say anything about weapons until the focus sentence. They said weapons changed history, basically. And then they say early humans. They don't say exactly the name of the humans. We don't call them Paleolithic men or women or cavemen here or nomads. We just call them early humans. Early humans sharpened stone and wood to hunt, protect the people, and defeat enemies. So this is an insight on the kind of like the past, present, and future, right? And of course, through practical usage, right? So we're not talking specifically about going into war or which war we're fighting. Now, because of this, the discovery of weapons change how humans survive, exhibit power, engage in war. Of course, this is the thesis. And yes, we have one, two, three, four sentences. So we have basically a basic paragraph introduction, right? So the thesis being at the end lets us know that we followed the same format of sentence building from the previous video for grade 7, the hook and funnel video. Now, you can pause the video if you want to read the paragraph. And let us continue. Now, the anecdote is, again, a story that's factually taken place. Most times, the writer will be very familiar with the story. They might not give you the exact places and times, the exact people, places, or things. We might not be able to do that. However, we will be able to tell a story. Again, like we start with a strong subject, something like it's like a visual picture, but still factual, based on general world history. The early hunter lifted a sharpened stone and realized it can save him in a fight against a giant boar. Right. Shortly afterwards, he relays the information to his female companion, and she used the stone to easily cut through the rough meat. So basically, the man survives. He says, "This saved my life." She takes the stone, and then she sees if it can cut the skin, and then creates clothing from it, and the rest is history. No pun intended. So I ironically watched a video while I was building this, and it was kind of weird because it was a very well received video, even though it was all 100% created by AI. I thought it was pretty silly, but they did tell the story in a very interesting way. They showed the giant boars that hunted humans, and I thought, okay, maybe instead of a saber-toothed tiger, I just use a giant boar. So as I was building this, I created an anecdote. So watching videos do kind of help out with no matter if it's a video made by hand or if it was an AI video, as long as the storytelling is good and it's factual and it works, we can kind of go through with that, right? So I think that was pretty interesting. The more you know, the better your introductions may be for anecdotes. For questions, we talked about questions before at the grade 7 level. Remember, we have the what would humans do after discovering tools that could become weapons and change the world. Early humans discovered that sharpened stone and wood could help them hunt, and of course, then you provide the information, the general information that would rhetorically answer the question. Because remember, when you ask a question, you're not asking a question to let the reader answer it and then move forward. You need to answer the question yourself as the writer. Okay, so that's how questions can be used. Usually, they're very good to be placed at the beginning of a paragraph. Otherwise, you can put them after, like a visual picture. Visual pictures are okay because they're getting you to imagine something and then you can ask a question, right? So visual pictures for this particular topic would be like, imagine watching the first spear fly through the air. In that moment, human history begins to change and then of course you talk about the story, maybe how that spear went to kill an animal. And then as civilizations started growing into, kingdoms, territories are being defended in the war. So you're finding yourself not only just standing in a hunting ground, but then you're finding yourself in the center of a battlefield, and then after that, you're seeing yourself in a museum. So that would be like a kind of cool way to create the visual picture path by telling like a story, not too much into detail, and I mean you don't need to write a whole page paper for a visual picture unless your paper is really that big. But you want to keep the readers interested by keeping your stories short, but keeping them sweet as well. Next, we have the historical context. Now, pause if you would like to read the details carefully. Okay, let's continue. So, remember that the historical context, as taught in the seventh grade, is kind of used to, it's used to teach or not teach but use to introduce a an idea from actual history. We use the Paleolithic age. Now keep in mind, if you're not good with years, you can use eras. Okay, so that's one of the things that I would like to show, additional pieces of information that makes the previous grade different from the current grade, is that no matter where you are in university or high school, no matter where you are with your academics, if you don't know the actual year, it's okay to round the number to maybe an age or like the mid 50s or something like that. It doesn't have to be the exact year. By doing that, we might be spending too much time overthinking and then losing a lot of other time to write. So keep that in mind. Also, the thesis comes after once the context is understood. It says, soon those same materials became the first weapons for hunting and defense. And over time, so notice again the transformation of the thesis, it changes depending on how you attach it to your paragraphs, right? If you're using the same words before, you're changing the words, or you're providing time transitions, likely you're going to need to make a little tweak to your thesis statement. But historical context usually works really well here. Also, in the mid sentence, this is a pretty interesting paragraph. Um, so just take a look at the statistic here. The statistic is actually more like a number. We're going to go with numbers this time. So some of the earliest spears were used more than 300,000 years ago, and this discovery gave humans a stronger way to hunt. By saying this, of course, you do need the citation, right? The citation here not included does need to be included, but in some cases when it's common knowledge, in this case here, you do not need the citation, right? So the citation is not actually needed here because, again, we know that humans did not use guns 300,000 years ago. They used sticks and clubs and stones. And for that, we don't need, you don't need to open a book to know this if you've already learned it in school. Everybody learns this. If you have an education, they learn this coming up through grade school, so there's no need to. And we talk about this all the time on Paleolithic history, Neolithic history, and stuff like that. So you don't necessarily need, for common knowledge, a particular citation here. Just understand that when you're using statistics and numbers, you can use them after anecdotes, or you can use them here at the beginning of historical context style sentences. But anecdotes would be like during Neolithic farming, spears were a human's primary tool for hunting. Um, Millions of years later, spears were used in long-range battle situations, from the jousting lance of European origins to the naginata of Japan. Now, of course, what I mean by statistics and numbers after anecdotes, keep this in mind. There's no anecdote here, but there's historical anecdote here, right? Not like the general anecdote where you're telling a story. When you're telling a story, of course, yes, you can use a statistic like you could say something like uh, a an archaeologist examined in a museum in Cairo examines a rare spear that was found broken from or spearhead broken from a long spear, something like that, right? And as you progress through the sentences, you kind of tell that story. And after that, you can say some of the earliest spears. So that's how it would work after an anecdote. But I liked doing it with historical context, using the numbers first, because I just wanted to get the jousting lance, one of my favorite weapons of all time, and one of my favorite Japanese weapons, the naginata of all time. I just wanted to put them in a sentence and talk about them. So I just wanted to share that information with you. And then, of course, because of this, weapons have become the most important discoveries in human history. I have a split thesis statement. The thesis being contained in two, transitioning from the historical context to a general statement. That statement containing the topic focus, which is discoveries of weapons, right? And the pronoun, will begin the second sentence, change the way humans survive, engage in combat, and maintain hegemony around the world. So remember, when you are creating an introduction, you will need to understand your optional paths, right? You have different types of hooks that you can use, and then you need to get closer to that focus, right? That general idea. Okay. So once you understand that, you have your topic mentioned like you saw in the previous paragraph. If I can show you here, the topic weapons discoveries were introduced. And then finally we can get to our thesis, or thesis statement should be complete by the end of the paragraph. So, of course, having a clear topic structure, or a clear topic, a funnel structure, and a strong thesis, you can survive the introduction paragraph process. Thank you for attending my tutorial. If you have any questions or experiences writing introductions, or if my video helped you out in any way and you want to share your experience, feel free to leave a comment. If you are interested in other videos and updates on other tutorials, please subscribe to my channel so you can be the first to see the updates, and follow my videos to receive guidance whenever needed to excel. Look out for more Skill Excel videos, and check out my webpage if you're feeling a little froggy and you want more professional help on academic writing. I have a 32-step program that can be used to excel. Thank you. See you on the next one.